Using large images is a great way to take advantage of critical real estate when trying to increase engagement inside of social media feeds. But it can become complicated trying to deal with the Open Graph protocol in order to serve these images, as well as just designing these image cards in the first place. To make this easier inside of a Next.js application, we can use Nextcloudinary, where using the CLD-OG image component, we can easily create a new image where it'll automatically add all the meta tags we need, along with all the information to make sure that our social media cards are displayed in all of our different feeds. Once Nextcloudinary is installed and we're importing the CLD-OG image component, we can create a new CLD-OG image component outside of the Next.js head component. Then to start, all I need to do is specify a source, which will be our Cloudinary public ID, where here I'm going to use my public ID from this Galaxy image that I already have on the page. And at this point, while we can see the Galaxy image that was already on the page, we won't actually be able to see the image itself inside of the meta tags, as that information isn't displayed on the primary page. But we can copy that URL and open it up in a new tab, where once loaded, we can see that this is now going to be our new social media card. Now, rather than trying to inspect that image tag every single time we want to make a change, while we're actually building that card, we can actually create a new instance of CLD image, as CLD OG image uses the same API. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and create a new clone of our image tag, where I'm going to specify a width of 2400 and a height of 1200, which is giving us the same exact type of thing as we would expect inside of our meta tag. We also want to make sure that we remove any responsive sizing, as that won't be necessary for our actual image. But now we can see our on-page image, which is going to reflect the same thing that we currently have inside of our meta tag. So let's first design here, and then we can copy the changes. First, let's add some text where I'm going to say my cool galaxy. And we can see that the text was added, but that kind of blends into the background, so let's make that text white. So instead of my text string, I'm going to pass in a new object, where inside I'm going to first specify my text as my cool galaxy. At this point, we should have the same thing, but now let's add some color, where I'm going to say I want my color to be white. And we can see that our text is now white on our galaxy image. We can even add image overlays on top of this, such as if I wanted to add a logo to the corner. So back on my image, I'm going to add a new prop of overlays, where inside I'm going to define a new array with a new object, where I'm going to pass in my public ID to the public ID of my logo, which in this case is Cloudinary. And we can see that that logo was added to the image, but it's not quite the placement that I want. So I'm going to define a new position property, where I'm going to say inside that I want my gravity to be southeast. And we could see when the image reloads that we have our image now in the bottom right corner, but we want to give it a little breathing room. So I'm going to set an X of 50 and a Y of 50, where I think this image now looks great, so let's update it for our actual meta tag. So I'm going to copy the overlays and the text props, and I'm going to go up to my CLD-OG image tag and paste that right underneath the source, where we can already see that these meta tags updated, so I can now copy this URL and open it up in a new tab, where we now see this perfect image of my cool galaxy with our logo in the bottom right corner. And just as a reminder, we were only using this CLD image instance to design our card, so we can go ahead and get rid of that and be back to our original page. Now, we're not going to be able to preview this locally using localhost 3000, as it's not going to be publicly accessible to our Twitter feeds. But once our page is publicly deployed, we can take our URL and head to tools like opengraph.xyz and paste it in the check website tool, where we'll be able to get an idea of how our images are going to look, including how it will look on our Twitter feed. So in review, in order to easily create social media cards for our websites, we can use the CLD-OG image component from Nextcloudinary, where after we define our image, some text, and even some overlays, we can dynamically build all the image cards for our social media feeds.